What if the most fundamental constant in the universe is nothing more than a guess? For over a century, science has told us that the speed of light, approximately 300,000 kilometers per second, is the ultimate speed limit. It is the backbone of GPS, the foundation of black hole physics, and the core of Einstein's legacy. But here is the secret that keeps physicists awake at night: we have never actually measured it. Not once. Every time we claim to have calculated the speed of light, we are looking at a shadow of the truth. We are trapped in a loop of our own making, and the reality of how light moves might be far more chaotic than any textbook dares to admit. The mirror illusion. To understand why the speed of light is a lie, we have to look at how we measure it. Imagine you want to time how fast a runner is. You start a stopwatch when they leave the starting line and stop it when they cross the finish line. Simple, right? But in the world of light, the starting line and the finish line are so far apart that we cannot synchronize the stopwatches. Instead, scientists use a mirror. We send a light beam from point A to point B, let it hit a mirror, and wait for it to return to point A. We take the total time for the round trip and divide it by 2. This is called the two-way speed of light. We assume, without any evidence, that light traveled at the same speed going out as it did coming back. The Asymmetry Paradox. Think about the implications of this assumption. Physics allows for a terrifying possibility. Light could travel at half the speed of light, c2, in one direction and move instantaneously, at infinite speed, in the return direction. Mathematically, the average would still be exactly circa. If you were to shine a flashlight at the moon, the light might take 2 seconds to get there but 0 seconds to reflect back. Because we only ever measure the round trip, we would never know the difference. Our GPS satellites, our telecommunications, and our radio telescopes would all still function perfectly because they rely on the average, not the specific one-way speed. The universe could be completely asymmetrical, and our math would never catch the error. The synchronization trap. You might ask, why don't we just put 2 perfectly synced clocks at both ends? This is where the universe plays its ultimate trick. To measure the one-way speed, those 2 clocks must be perfectly synchronized. But how do you sync them? If you put them together, sync them, and then move one clock to the finish line, Einstein's own special relativity tells us that time dilation occurs. Moving a clock actually changes the rate at which time passes for that clock. By the time it reaches the finish line, it is no longer in sync with the first clock. What if we sync them using a signal? If you send a radio or light signal from clock A to tell clock B what time it is, you have to know the speed of that signal to adjust for the delay. But the speed of that signal is exactly what we are trying to measure in the first place. It is a perfect circular trap. We cannot measure the speed of light because we need synchronized clocks, and we cannot synchronize clocks because we don't know the one-way speed of light. Einstein's convention. Albert Einstein himself was fully aware of this. In his 1905 paper on special relativity, he didn't prove that light travels at the same speed in all directions, he simply stipulated it. He called it the Einstein synchrony convention. It wasn't a discovery of a law of nature, it was a human choice made for the sake of convenience. He realized that since we can never measure the one-way speed, we might as well assume its constant so that the equations remain simple. We have built the entire house of modern physics on a foundation of, because I said so. The collapse of, now. If the speed of light is different depending on its direction, our entire perception of time and space is an illusion. We talk about light years as a measure of how far back in time we are seeing. If we look at a star 1,000 light years away, we assume we are seeing it as it was 1,000 years ago. But if light travels toward us instantaneously, we are actually seeing that star as it exists right now. If it travels slower, we are looking at a much older ghost than we realized. The now is not a universal moment, it is a localized bubble defined by an unproven constant. The final verdict. Is the speed of light a lie? Not exactly. It is a working truth. It is a value that works for our technology and our current level of understanding. But we must be humble enough to admit that we are navigating the cosmos using a map where we've only ever seen one side of the coin. The universe is under no obligation to be simple or symmetrical just to satisfy our equations. Somewhere out there, light might be breaking all the rules we've set for it, moving at speeds we cannot comprehend, while we remain trapped in our loop of mirrors and assumptions. The greatest mystery of science isn't what we don't know, it's what we think we know but can never truly prove.